Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Wonder Goal, the soccer betting podcast from the Action Network, presented to you by Bet365. My name is Michael Leboff, and joining me for this, our Copa America semifinal preview, is BJ Cunningham. And BJ, we've got four teams left. I think three of them you would consider to be not, let's say, not too surprising. I guess you could say Uruguay getting there over Brazil, but and then Canada is, of course, the outlier. They were 90-1. Outsiders to start the tournament. I said that I like that bet as a long shot. You liked them in their stage of elimination at 11-1. So now we're sitting pretty with the Maple Leafs. The only problem is they've got to take on Argentina on Tuesday night. The Wednesday night semifinal is Uruguay and Colombia, and that's a pick 'em. Obviously, the odds for Argentina and Canada are pretty wide. Argentina sitting minus 600 to advance to the final. Canada is 4-1. The three-way line has Argentina as a minus 275 favorite. Canada has a plus 850 underdog. The draw is plus 375. A reminder, there's no extra time in Copa America. If it is a draw, it goes right to penalties, as we saw with Argentina and Ecuador. Yeah, I mean, this Argentina Canada matchup I think is pretty fascinating. The Jesse March experiment in Canada is going really well. They're very, they play with some bravery, some Leeds United, Red Bull influence to their game. That was to be expected, but they also have the talent to pull it off against most teams. You'd expect that Argentina would be a bridge too far. But they do have the advantage of having already played Argentina in this tournament. I think that's helpful for a team when you're a big underdog. But I do think that if you're going to bet Canada, I would just bet them at plus 850 to win inside 90. Or if you want to get on board and bet them to win the tournament, go right ahead too. Like, I mean, that's it. Like, I don't know if there's all that much value on them against this Argentina team that, yeah, they did have their first nervy moment of the tournament. But as you said all along, like, this is a team that they just control the game from the second it starts to the second it ends. And that is very contrary to what Canada wants.
Yeah. So let's get the futures stuff out of the way first on how I would play it. If you have a stage of elimination bet at 11-1, I have hedged that. You can find a plus 425 on Canada to advance. So there and four, you can get yourself, about a 8.5 guaranteed or so unit profit. I have taken that because I do think that there is a real possibility that Canada gets by Argentina here. I do not think it's a sure thing, as at least the first match showed. I went back and rewatched the first match because I thought it was kind of important to maybe understand, how everything played out, because Argentina created 3 expected goals, right? Well, a lot of those chances, at least a couple of their biggest chances, came when they won the ball off a corner and just got a one-on-one break with the keeper. Outside of that, there really wasn't a lot of like really high quality chances. It was a lot of shots that were, with an XG rating around 0.1. In the end, I mean, Argentina ended up with 20 plus shots in the match. But I was really impressed with what Canada was able to do out of possession, because a lot of times what teams do with Argentina, and it's why they control matches so well, is teams just kind of sit back in a passive block and they say, oh gosh, like we cannot allow Argentina to play through the middle. Like we can't allow them to beat us over the top. Canada really wasn't afraid of that. They played very, very compact. Like basically from the jump, I know that Jesse Marsh was just like, they can't play through the middle. So they were playing a super compact 4-2-4, 4-4-2 type of, modified type of defensive structure. And they did a really good job at denying space to the middle for Argentina and basically just having them force the ball out wide or take chances. The one thing I'll say about Argentina, they are a team that, like I've said, controls matches from start to finish. They're not in the same aspect of like England or France. Like if they even sniff like a little bit of a hole or a pass is there, they're going to take it. And it happens. It happened over and over again against Canada, and they open them up that way. So I think Canada will be a little bit more passive, a little bit more compact, making sure that Argentina doesn't even play through the middle. But what was even more impressive about Canada, though, is their ability to break in transition. Because, again, the only team that has beaten Argentina since the 2022 World Cup was Uruguay. And what does Uruguay have? They got pace going forward in attack. And Canada did create over 1 expected goal against Argentina, and they had a point-blank header in the first half that could have put them ahead. So, they created 1.1 expected goals. That's only the first time since the start of the 2022 World Cup. France is the only other team to do that to Argentina. So getting over 1 expected goal against them is actually a pretty impressive feat. So for me, you know, if you let's say you're somebody who just bet Argentina like to win this tournament plus 175 before the tournament, I would bet Canada 26-1 right now to win the tournament if you have that as a hedge, because I think that with the fact that this match doesn't go to extra time and it goes straight to penalties. I know Emi Martinez is like the best, penalty goalkeeper of all time, but variance has a way of working itself out sometimes, and Canada definitely could get through on penalties. So even if it's not a coin flip and it's 55-45, like that's still a way better chance on, plus 425 to advance, or even 26-1 to win the tournament. So in any case, from a hedging and futures perspective, I would play Canada. Specifically for this match, I kind of do like over 2.5 goals at even money. I played the under in the first match and got lucky. And I think that since this is a knockout match and not a group stage match, if Argentina goes ahead, you'll see Canada be more and more and more aggressive, because throughout this entire tournament, they really haven't been playing from behind, right? They've been playing from an even or a positive game state. So they've tended to not sit off a little bit more, but not be as aggressive with their pressing out of the mid block. And I'll say it again, they have unbelievable pacey transition attackers that can give Argentina a lot of problems. So, but if Argentina goes ahead, that's going to leave Canada kind of open, which Argentina could punish them over and over again. And again, they will take opportunities if they give them to them. So for this match, over 2.5 at even money is my favorite bet. And if you're playing it from a futures perspective, I think there's a decent chance that Canada gets through. So I would hedge in any type of aspect.
Yeah, 26-1, I think, on Canada to win is still fine.
I mean, it's one match, right? Like one match, and you get a 26-1 hedge in the final with no extra time. I mean,
I know, it's crazy. So I'm with you. I think that it's in whatever way you want to bet Canada here is probably the best way to do it. The other match, so that's Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. The other semifinal is perfectly poised. It's a true pick'em in terms of the two advance between Uruguay and Colombia, minus 110 on both sides at Bet365, and then the three-way line. You could say that Colombia is the slightest of favorites at plus 180. Uruguay's plus 187. The draw is plus 190. I think that this match ends inside 90. I think these two teams are both can play very physical. Like we got Bielsa ball going. Colombia isn't afraid to play on the front foot either. I think this thing should be a lot of fun to watch. Whether it's like, you can definitely talk yourself into live betting a team that goes down. I think both teams to receive a red card at 33-1 is also really interesting at Bet365. Because here's why I think that's interesting, right? Like this match it's going to be all passion, it's going to be frenzied. It's you know what Bielsa wants to do with his teams. Colombia's been playing some really fun stuff too, but they're both so physical and unrelenting that, let's say one team goes up, 2-0, and it's late in the game. I could see something stupid happening where, maybe red cards just get ditched out as in like a little bit of a Donnybrook sort of situation in hockey, when the ref says, like, I got to take one from each side basically and put them in the penalty box, like something like that. I just think there's a lot of ways to get to one red card for both sides here. So that's one fun prop at 33-1 I like in this match, because I do think it's going to be quite fun and crazy. If I had to pick a side, I think I would lean towards Uruguay but I would play the three-way line rather than the minus 110. I think plus 187, because there's just a lot of variance in this matchup. Like it's very hard to see this thing being tight, 1-1, 0-0. Neither team wanting to be on the front foot. They're both going to want to go for it. So I would lean towards Uruguay. I know you like goals in this one too. I think you can play like some same game parlays too, like Uruguay in an over, or if you like Colombia in the over, maybe the team to win from behind, however you want to do it, because this thing should be chaos, BJ.
Yeah, I've placed the biggest bet on an individual Copa America match yet on this match, and it's both teams to score at plus 112. So these two play very, very similar styles. It's press from the front, play in transition, and play chaos ball, for lack of a better term. They played in World Cup qualifying in October of 2023. Michael, there was a red card in that match. It was the good, and I'll tell you why it happened. It's because both of these teams, especially Colombia, because they like to press from the front, they play an incredibly high line, and nobody so far in Copa America has been able to punish them for it. Even against Brazil, Brazil was just like throwing outlet balls out to Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo and Rafinha and just like kind of hoping for the best. Nobody was playing a ball in over the top. Well, that's exactly what Uruguay does with Darwin Nunez over and over and over again. And they got one of their attackers in behind, and the goalkeeper took out the striker. It was a red card, and boom, penalty, and it ended up tying the match 2-2. The match that ended 2-2, there were 4.1 expected goals, and 4.1 expected goals in about 35 shots in the match. It was just complete chaos. And it was just very back and forth with both teams just wanting to play in transition. Colombia scored early, which forced Uruguay out of their mid block and into a higher pressing type situation, which obviously left a lot of space in behind. Uruguay is going to be without Araujo for this match, who's their best defender, which is a huge loss for them. So that's going to give Colombia even more room to operate, especially in those transition moments. So both teams should have their opportunities going back and forth. And although Colombia's press has been really good during this tournament, I mean, they've against Brazil, they had a pass per defensive action of 7.2. And even in their last meeting against Uruguay, they forced 15 high recoveries. They are very vulnerable in behind. And nobody in this tournament has really been able to punish them for that. Well, now they have a team in Uruguay who absolutely can do that. So the second that one team goes ahead in this match, it's going to devolve into complete chaos, which is why I like both teams to score. Again, the previous meeting between these two had 4.1 expected goals. I know South American matches and typically matches throughout this tournament have been very, very low scoring, but these two teams are complete outliers in that aspect. So if one of them is playing a team like Brazil, for example, who really can't create anything right now and is just trying to build out of the back, then yes, the matches tend to be a little bit more low scoring. But now you have two teams that are playing the exact same style, who want to make it chaotic, and two teams, honestly, that I think believe that they are the better transition team. So I think you're going to see more of the same from these two, and I think it's going to lead to a very chaotic match. So I don't think that both teams to score should be sitting at plus money.
Okay. So I'm assuming that would be your favorite bet of the
Yes.
bunch here. Yep. My favorite bet. You know what? I'll say my best bet for Copa semifinals is both teams to get a red card, 33-1. Uruguay and Colombia. I just think there's a much higher chance of that happening than 33-1 odds. All right. That'll do it for the Copa America semifinals. We also recorded our Euro semifinals just before with Sam Ingram. So be sure to check that one out if you haven't already. We'll be back for the final as well on the other side of these matches. Thank you for listening. Thank you to our sponsors, Bet365, and to our producer, Noah, for all the hard work.